You want to be more spontaneous. I want to be more spontaneous. Safe and wise choices are awesome, but sometimes you can want your choices to be so safe and so wise that you end up just not doing anything. And that's not good, especially when it comes to travel. Sometimes we feel like we need to plan out every step of the way and we need to make sure that everything's in order and that everything is going to be perfect, and if it's not, then we just might as well not even try. Does that sound like you? Honestly, it sounds like me. Let's chat about that. Hi, my name is Matt, and this is Life Outward. In 2023, I think I want to sell my house, travel the world, meet new people, experience new things, and do it all on YouTube and Instagram for people to see. Is that crazy? It sounds a little crazy. It sounds a little risky, mostly because I don't know what I'm doing. But that's part of the fun, and I want to take you along with me. That's what this channel is all about. If any of that stuff interests you, go ahead and hit subscribe so you can join me along for all of the adventures we're going to have together. Or you can go to the website, lifeoutward.com, where I'm starting a written blog. Do people even still do those? Also, I have a Patreon. There's exactly 0 patrons so far, but it's because I just opened it. So if you want to hop on and support this journey that we're going to make together, you can do that. I promise, the very first person that becomes a patron, I'm making a whole video just for you. Really? Seriously, I'm going to do that. Like, no joke. What else are you going to spend $3 a month on? Anyway, but back to the question, how do I be more spontaneous? You know, I've been trying to figure that out myself, and I think it comes down to one big thing: making decisions. I think most people kind of conflate the idea of being spontaneous with being risky and not making decisions, and I don't think that's true. Obviously, this channel focuses on travel, but I think what we're going to talk about here today is applicable across the board. Personally, my default way of doing things is to plan out everything I possibly can, make a pros and cons list, weigh the options, try to figure out everything in advance, and if it even looks a little bit like it might not work out, I'll just say, sorry, tried, won't do it though. Then when you do that, or when I do that, you just kind of end up stuck in the same place. And that's no fun, right? It also doesn't challenge you and it doesn't grow you. The more I thought about it, the more I realized something though, that being spontaneous and being risky are not actually the same thing at all. You can be spontaneous and make good, well thought out decisions. If you have trouble being spontaneous, it's usually because you're not a risk taker. I'm not either. And that is perfectly fine because they're not the same thing. Here, do this for me. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. Write down these 2 questions. 1, what do I want to do? Don't be vague. Write something concrete that once you do it, you can see it in real life. And number 2, what is keeping me from doing that right now? Before we go any further, I want to tell you a little story from history that I think is really interesting. President JFK famously announced that in the 1960s, the United States of America would be putting a man on the moon.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
This was such a big deal, and the entire country was super excited. Did you know that when he made that announcement, he actually didn't consult with NASA at all beforehand? He just said, "Yes, we're going to the moon," as a political announcement, not even as a scientific one. And NASA was like, no, we can't do that. I don't know why NASA sounds like Kermit the Frog, I'm sorry.
Why?
But NASA was like, no, there's no way we can put a man on the moon. That's impossible. The story goes that JFK went to NASA and asked them, so why can't we put a man on the moon? NASA said, Mr. President, there's this problem of rocket fuel. We haven't created a good enough one yet, and we have to design these capsules, and we have to train astronauts to do a thing that we've never done before, and we have to figure out flight path trajectories. It's very complicated. The president responded, so what you're telling me is that once we solve those problems, then we can go to the moon. NASA was like, yes, that's what we're saying. And then JFK says, All right, well, let's get started. See, spontaneity is less about doing things at random and taking huge risks, and it's more about making decisions, committing to them, and being okay with figuring out the details along the way. So let's go and answer your first question. What do you want to do? Since here on this channel we talk travel, let's say that we want to go to Washington, D.C. for less than $300. That is specific and achievable. It's not vague, but it's not super detailed either. Now, before going to question 2, go ahead and commit. Say, I want to do this, and so I am. I'm going to go visit Washington, D.C. for less than $300. Then, on question 2, what is keeping me from doing this right now? The list that you create is actually going to be a checklist, like NASA gave JFK, to figure out, I'm going to do this. Okay, what do I need to make it happen? Let's say, okay, we need a plane ticket, we need a place to stay, we need to figure out how we're going to eat. That's pretty much it. In fact, that's actually pretty much all of the things you need to plan for any trip you take. See, you can balance spontaneity and planning. They're not mutually exclusive at all. And like that short list we just made, you don't have to plan out everything, just the things that you need. Let's say you wanted to make a pizza, and you say, okay, tonight for dinner I'm gonna make a pizza, but it turns out all you have is pizza sauce. A normal person would make a list and say, okay, I need to go buy dough, cheese, and pepperoni, and then I need to cook it. And then you have pizza for dinner. You don't go look in your cabinet and say, oh, I only have pizza sauce. Oh, and I'd have to go buy ingredients, and since I don't already have it all set up, I guess I'm just not gonna have pizza tonight. No, well, some of you might be that way, and some nights I am that way too when it comes to cooking dinner, but that's not good, that's not right. And it's not risky to say, I wanna have pizza for dinner. No, you can be spontaneous, and you can plan things out and do things wisely without taking huge risks. Oscar Wilde said this, spontaneity is a meticulously prepared art. You see, being spontaneous doesn't mean you have to be risky or stupid. It just means making decisions, committing to them, and being okay with figuring out the details along the way. That's my little bit of advice anyway. I'm still trying to figure this out too. But, you know what? Hold on. I just booked a 4-day trip to Washington, D.C. And I spent less than $300. I'm going in 2 weeks. I really, truly just did that. Yeah, let's be spontaneous. I'm gonna figure out how to make it work. In fact, I've already figured out most of it. I've got a place to stay. I'm gonna be staying in a pod hostel, which never done that before. That's gonna be awesome. And I got my flight for like almost no money. If you want to join me on that trip, be sure to subscribe. Also, I have an Instagram you can check out too. I haven't really posted much on it yet, but you should definitely follow that because I'm gonna be putting a lot of stuff on there. I'm gonna be one of those Instagram influencers. But anyway, thank you for watching. Here's to more spontaneity in 2023. And until next time, live your life outward.